J-Lo and Ben Affleck. Narcs collide. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Many of you will be aware that Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, or Jenny from the block, and Ben Affleck are an item. An item again some 20 years or so after they were first an item when they were engaged to be married, and they called off that wedding days before it's due to take place. In the meantime, J-Lo was married to Mark Antony, and Ben Affleck was married to Jennifer Garner. I have produced a series about Ben Affleck, explaining that he is a narcissist, providing you with source material, video footage, etc., to support that contention. If you haven't watched it, I'd encourage you to do so. It's also the case that Jennifer Lopez is a narcissist. I haven't put out an analysis about her yet, but I have reviewed material to support that she is. And what we have here is a situation of two narcissists coming together, two narcissists colliding. Of course, to begin with, all will be well. They're both infatuated with one another. They both give one another a golden period, and therefore they both believe that the person they're with is amazing and wonderful. And in their instance, it didn't work first time around, but we've experienced other people, and we've grown, we've matured, we now understand one another. Ben Affleck will, of course, place much of that upon his drink issues and claim that he's combated them, conquered them, overcome them. And therefore they both draw one another in, seeing one another through a lens of being painted white. But then, of course, with them both being narcissists, devaluation will occur. And they will devalue one another. It won't necessarily start at the same time. Indeed, it's more likely that one would start to devalue the other first, whose response then to being devalued, of course, is to also switch to devaluation. And you get a double roller coaster of two narcissists devaluing, then respite period, devaluing and respite period, often not in sync. Of course, the narcissist may stay together as a consequence of narcissistic cementation, a concept that I'll be expanding on in a separate video, and is particularly applicable to those relationships where two narcissists have been together for a long time. Think Bill and Hillary Clinton as an example. Here, there may well be trouble ahead. They split up first time around, and it wouldn't surprise me if disengagement occurred. But before we get ahead of ourselves, many of you, of course, saw the interaction that took place between Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck at the Grammy Awards. I've seen pieces of footage. One shows where the crowd is dancing and Ben Affleck is sort of looking really cheesed off and isn't enjoying himself. And then the more widely shown one where he says something to her and she snaps at him, and then only for them to realise that they've been caught on camera. And it's this latter incident that's being reported on by the Daily Mail. Here, the report by Christine Rendon and Jarrett Thomas Sackman tells us Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got people talking once again after an eyebrow-raising clip captured the couple sharing an awkward moment at the 2023 Grammy Awards. The tense exchange begins with Ben, 50, whispering into J-Lo's ear, only for her to jerk away and seemingly snap at him in response. Accordingly, what he said there could only be challenge fuel. The reason being, because he's talking to her, he's providing her with fuel, but because of the reaction that occurs, then, of course, that demonstrates that he's done something which has challenged her sense of control, causing her to respond with a moment of ignited fury and snapping at him. The report continues as J-Lo 53 responds. Ben frowns, straightens up his vest and his posture, before it eventually dawns on them it was all caught on camera. Their expressions turn blank as the realization sinks in their exchange was caught on camera, though it is unclear exactly what is being said. And of course it can be seen that he whispers, and what he says threatens her sense of control. She snaps, and then as she turns to him to admonish him, both in what she says and her gesture, she sees that she's on camera, and then thereafter the necessity of the appearance of the facade comes back and ensures that she doesn't continue to berate him, that her narcissism recognizes that the exchange has been captured on film and, in the circumstances, could pose a threat to control with regard to the facade, and therefore her narcissism ends the interaction with him, feeling that he's been suitably chastised, that she will feel that essentially control has been achieved, and his response also is one whereby he has due regard to the presence of the camera, resulting in him having to adjust the situation for his facade also. The two of them need to assert control over themselves, but also they both operate facades. And therefore, there comes the inherent tension between the maintenance of the facade and, of course, maintaining control over one another. J-Lo essentially believes that she has asserted control over him as a consequence of reprimanding him and doesn't need to go any further because her narcissism feels that has been achieved, and she also has due regard to the presence of the camera and, of course, the facade. You can see in the footage, if you've seen it, she looks straight down the camera lens. Ben Affleck also, although a little bit slower than J-Lo, also notices the presence of the camera, and at first it looks like he's going to say something by way of complaint. When she admonishes him, he adjusts his body language as if he's going to say something further. Of course, he's had a face like a slapped arse all evening, which is probably as a consequence of it's an event at which he didn't really want to attend, and therefore he's sulking, part of a mid-range behaviour that is exhibited by him. The fact is, they're both able to assert control over one another, and of greatest importance to them is that they don't damage their facade. And given both their higher levels of control that exist, they're both able to keep their ignited fury under control whilst maintaining the facade. Throughout the course of events, J-Lo is better at looking pleased with matters. Evidently, the receipt of fuel putting her in a better place, whereas with Ben Affleck, he looked miserable most of the time, and therefore I suspect that this was not an event to which he wanted to go, and she did. He has gone along feeling obligated to do so, but therefore sits with a face on him because he repeatedly is jettisoning the threat to control posed by his attendants by saying, didn't want to be here, don't really enjoy it, shown as well by the way that he was supposedly dancing when everybody else was throwing some shapes. Whereas with J-Lo, she clearly wanted to be there, is finding it far more enjoyable, and therefore shows a more exuberant appearance to the world, feeling more in control as a consequence of being at an event that she wants to be at. The article continues by explaining frosty-faced J-Lo tried to cover up the moment, though her husband had a vacant expression throughout the evening. It is unclear exactly what was said in the exchange, but the singer and actress did not seem impressed with what Affleck said. TikTok users watching the moments on the platform immediately flooded the comments section with their observations. Jennifer Garner at home eating popcorn like, "Girl, he's your problem now," one TikTok user posted. "The Grammy producers are so messy for this, but I love it," another wrote. "Her face when she saw the camera, LOL," another chimed in. On Monday, J-Lo gushed about Ben as she posted highlights from their Grammy night. "Always the best time with my love, my husband," she captioned the post. And of course, what we have there is a relationship bulletin and the assertion of control through flattery. Accordingly, the awkward exchange wasn't the only moment people were talking about. Ben cemented his place as a meme idol once again at last night's Grammy Awards when his vacant expression at the Grammy Awards went viral on social media. Throughout the A-list evening, Affleck was seen looking totally disinterested beside the ravishing Lopez, who appeared to be having a blast, and I've explained why that was. A range of memes, therefore, coming from it in terms of saying things such as Ben Affleck, blink if you're okay, and Ben Affleck looks like he'd rather be at Dunkin', Ben Affleck looks like he'd rather be at the dentist than the Grammys. One meme also read, why does Ben Affleck always look like he's 10 minutes away from crying during a much-needed smoke break? Standing beside Jennifer in the darkened amphitheatre, Ben appeared to be less than amused by Wonder's powerful performance, which brought down the house. Another meme read, Ben Affleck would rather be anywhere else than front row at the Grammys, watching Stevie Wonder crush higher ground. Other memes went on to compare the Good Will Hunting star to small wet dogs, shivering in a towel or shoving their face under a faucet. Whoever keeps cutting to Ben Affleck as he gets more and more exasperated, thank you, one amused viewer wrote. Of course, what's behind it is that he's basically showing a disinterested, almost sulking face because he doesn't want to be there, and that's his way of asserting control over the event by, as I mentioned, having a face like a slapped arse. A useful opportunity to see a situation where two narcissists briefly collide, caught on camera, and also to explain their demeanour through the course of the evening. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.